Always an honor to have the greatest president of my lifetime joining us, President Donald John Trump. Mr. President, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Todd. It's been a little while, but not too long, but it's great to be with you. Thanks, Todd.
Not too long. I want to start out with a couple of very positive stories for you. Rasmussen report says Republican voters favor you over Ron DeSantis nearly 2-1. And also, CNN, of all places, reporting that you're actually beating all of the declared candidates in their home states. Certainly no surprise, but what do you make of that?
Well, I'm honored by it. I just polls just came up. I'm 25 points up on Ron in Florida, and they like him in Florida. I got him elected. In all fairness, I have to say that, but most people know that. But Florida, we're doing great. We're doing great everywhere. People want to have our country back. We're losing our country, and we had a great border. We had a great military. We would have never had that horrible situation that took place in Afghanistan, which I think gave Putin sort of a calling card to go in and do what he wanted to do. He would have never done it if I were there. So many things they want back. They want to have energy independence, even energy dominance, which is what would have happened and what will happen again, and we can do that quickly. And they want to have a border. Our border is horrible. They want to continue with the low taxes. I cut taxes, as you know, more than Ronald Reagan even, and he had the biggest cut. I now have the biggest cut of all. And all of these things that we did, and they want to go back to it.
We had one of our callers, and people have been calling in and offering questions. Huge fans of you listen to this program, Mr. President. And one gentleman said, maybe we need to make Americans grateful again before we can make America great again. And this idea of falling back in love with your country that so many of our young kids have been taught to hate in their public schools.
Yeah, well, they see that, and I think, we are also, though, very well represented with young people. I find that there seems to be a thing out there, Todd, and it seems to be quite strong that, you don't have any Republican or conservative kids. I think you got a lot of them. They don't talk up as much, but when they talk, people listen, and it's very interesting. But no, they teach a lot of bad things in schools. They teach some really bad philosophies. They teach some really bad ideas, and then you have, guys being allowed to compete against the women in sports, and it's just crazy what's going on. It's just nobody would have ever thought what we're talking about today. Parental rights. They want to give parental rights. They always had parental rights. Parental rights. How basic can you get? But now they're talking about it's a big subject. Will we give parental rights back? It's crazy what's happening today. Absolutely.
That does seem to be a big issue, especially when it comes to women and this attack on women, this transgender movement. As president, how would you address that with the men wanting to play in the women's sports? How would you protect those biological women?
Well, I would end it. And, women agree with me. It's not like, gee, this is a very strong position. No, I would end it. You can't have that. It's unfair. You see the records that are getting broken. They're being broken by numbers that would not be possible and nobody ever thought possible. I would not allow men to play in women's sports. And I think it's very demeaning to women. It's extremely demeaning to women.
Mr. President, a bit of breaking news. A few moments ago, we got word that Mike Pence, former VP, your number 2, has filed papers going to announce this week. What's your reaction to Mike Pence joining the race?
Well, I wish him a lot of luck. He's a nice person. We had a very good relationship until the very end. We had a very strong, nice relationship until the very end. I wish he would have put the votes back to the legislatures and legislators also. But I wish they would have gone back to the legislatures. I think you might have seen a different story. I actually think you would have seen a different story. So I wish you would have done that. We disagreed on that. I think I was right. I know I was right because after it was done, they went and changed the law so the vice president couldn't do it. They had a big thing, Todd, that about the vice president has no choice. He has to do it. I said, I disagree with that. And then it turned out I was right because as soon as it was all over, they went out and changed the laws, saying that the vice president did, in fact, have the right to do it. And that's why they changed it so that he couldn't do it. So we disagreed on that last moment in time. We on that very issue. And I wish he did that. And I think he'd be way up. I think he'd be doing much better in the polls. They possibly wouldn't frankly, he wouldn't be running. He wouldn't be running right now. I think there would have been a different result.
I know it's still early in this, but I mean, the polling data is pretty, it is what it is. Have you started thinking about vice presidents? Have you thought about a running mate?
Well, a little bit. Remember one thing, a running mate is very important. It's always important because of, if something happens with the president, so it's always very important. You can never belittle it. But in terms of getting elected, I've seen so many races where such a big deal was the vice president, but the vice president never really helps too much. It's all about the person at top. It's really about the president. So from an election standpoint, that's the way it is. From a practical standpoint, it's very important, especially should something happen where there has to be a replacement. So, and so it is a very important decision. We have some great people in the party, and we'll do the right thing. We'll pick the best person. And actually, a lot of people think people are running for that reason. But we'll see if that's the reason. We are doing very well in the polls. We're way up. We have a 40 and 50-point lead in many instances. And very importantly, we're beating Biden by a lot. We're beating him by a lot. Much more than DeSantis is beating him by. We're beating Biden by a lot.
Would you see, is there a way that DeSantis could end up as your running mate, or has that relationship been severed?
I don't know. I don't like saying anything is impossible, but it's pretty unlikely, I would think. It's, I endorsed him. I got him elected, and then he did this. I was very surprised that he did. Without that, it would have been a distinct possibility. And people are getting to know him, and I will let you talk about whether or not they like him, but he certainly has gone down a lot in the polls, and I've gone way up. And we now have a very commanding lead, but, leads can be broken. I've seen many times the leads get broken. But I think we're doing very well. There's tremendous enthusiasm. We have rallies coming up we're going to have 40, 50,000 people at rallies, as big or bigger than ever before. There's more of a thirst for getting back to where we were. We had, think of it, low taxes. We had the strongest border in history. We had the lowest regulations in history. We had everything we had was the best. We had everything. Our military was strong. You would have never had Afghanistan. Because I was getting out, I brought it down. We were getting out, but we would have gotten out with tremendous strength, and it was amazing. And we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of equipment behind, and we wouldn't have had 13 soldiers killed, and we wouldn't have had American citizens being left behind. We have hundreds, maybe more, but hundreds of American citizens that are stuck in Afghanistan. The way we left, we brought our military out first. It was so badly handled. So, so many things. People want to get back to what we had. We had the greatest economy in history, and they want to get back to it.
And you're going to do that. You're going to bring us back to those days.
Oh, we're going to bring it, and we're going to bring it fast. DeSantis said, 8 years. I said, you don't need 8 years. You need 6 months, and maybe a lot less than that. We had the strongest border in the history of our country. Now we have the worst border in the history of the world. Millions and millions of people falling into just being thrown into our country. And you know what? We don't know anything about them. They come from mental institutions. They come from jails. They're prisoners. They're insane asylums. People say, please don't use that word. It's a tough word, 2 words. But they come from insane asylums. They come from all over. And people don't know where are they coming from. We have we have 129 countries last week represented, people pouring into our country from 129 different countries. Prisons are being emptied, mental institutions are being emptied, and they're being sent to the United States. People that work in mental institutions are being laid off at other countries now because there are no people. They're in the United States. They've let them come into the United States. They've forced them in, and this is what this man is letting happen. They're trying to destroy our country, and we can't let it happen, Todd.
No, we can't, Mr. President. And I know a lot of our listeners were concerned about that. A fellow by the name of Charles from North Carolina said, does the president have a plan to get the illegals out of the country that are already here? Yeah, absolutely. We have no choice. We start with the bad ones. And, the good thing is the local police departments know who they are. They know everything. The police have been just treated so badly. They're afraid they'll lose their job. They'll lose everything. If they speak even a little bit harshly. No, the police know who they are. We're going to get them out. We're going to get the bad ones out immediately.
and we're going to do it through ICE. ICE, we're going to have many more ICE. We're going to hire ICE. We're going to hire Border Patrol. These are incredible people, but we will have a strong border like we had before. We had the strongest. I built hundreds of miles of wall. We were adding more than I even projected because we had some areas that were, when you build the wall, they go to different areas, sort of like water. And they go to different areas. And we built hundreds of miles of wall. We were adding more. And then we had a horrible, disgusting, disgraceful election that took place. And so many, think of it, you wouldn't have all the dead people in Ukraine. You wouldn't have you wouldn't have inflation right now. We wouldn't have had inflation. Inflation was caused by energy. We were energy independent. We were becoming energy dominant. We would have made a fortune with energy. I call it liquid gold. It's right under our feet. We have more than any other country. We would have been selling it to Europe. We would have been paying off debt. We would have been reducing debt or reducing taxes for people. And instead, we're begging for energy. And I see that energy prices have spiked very big today for, I guess, certain reasons. But
you're right.
Who knows?
Mr. President, just a few moments ago, and this is from the reporting of CBS News, they say that your attorneys met with the Justice Department. Curious if you can give us any details on what the outcome of all of that was.
Well, I could just say this. They did go in and they saw him and they said, very unfair. No other president has ever been charged with anything like this. Hillary Clinton deleted 33,000 emails. Bill Clinton, and she not only deleted them, they call it bleach washed, and she did things to them that nobody ever even heard of. They hammered their cell phones. You remember that case, Todd?
I do.
I mean, the cell phones were hammered. All of the emails were deleted. 33,000 of them. Many were classified. Bill Clinton won a court case in front of a federal judge, a respected federal judge, tough federal judge, saying that he was allowed to do it. Many other presidents, likewise, nobody was charged or prosecuted. And Biden has 1,850 boxes, some of them from Chinatown. In Chinatown, where supposedly China's been paying them money. But they have 1,850 boxes that he doesn't want looked at. And they're saying, how come they always go after Trump? Same thing with Russia. They go after me. The fake dossier, they go after me. And then it turns out to be all fake stuff. They're fake stories. And it's really a disgrace. They do a Russia. Then they try and get you on obstruction. They give you a fake deal. They give you a fake, think of it. They give you a fake scenario, and then they try and get you on obstruction. In other words, obstruction of justice. They create a phony, fake, illegal situation, and they try and you fight it because you know it's phony and fake, and then they try and get you on obstruction of justice. We're living in a very dangerous time.
You see, Mr. President,
the Justice Department won't succumb.
I am so with you there, and this is one of the things that angers me. First of all, people need to be going to jail for what they did to you with the Durham report. But second of all,
it's so sad.
When you take all of that away, you have you don't have all the controversy, and quite frankly, every Republican running for office needs to stand down so that we can make this right. And that's what I see the 2024 election being, is about making this right. Do you anticipate the Justice Department is going to file charges against you?
I don't know. They've never done it before. If they do, I think my poll numbers are going to go up, I guess, because the people get it, They get it. The people in the country get it. Nobody's ever been charged where poll numbers go up, but the people in this country get it. And they have one in Georgia where I made a perfect phone call protesting the election. And all of a sudden they say, oh, is that, they made up some term for that. And it's another beauty. So, it's really unfair, but the people get it. They see it happening, and it makes you more popular. They want back what we had. No, this is a terrible thing that, it's really called, it's influencing the election. It's called election interference.
Absolutely.
What they're doing. And, I'm way up on Biden. I'm way up on DeSantis. They don't care about DeSantis, but they care about Biden, and they want to run against anybody but me. Don't forget, when they say we want to run against Trump, that's the party of disinformation. They say they want to run against Trump because they don't want to run against Trump. Just like the open borders. They want open borders. Who wants open borders? Who wants no voter ID? These people, it's like April Fool's Day. Everything they do, it's like April Fool's Day. It's the opposite. But they don't want to run against me. But what they say is, we want to run against Trump. Hey, they're good at that. If they spent the same genius on straightening out our country, we'd have a much different country right now.
That's it. We've got about a minute here, Mr. President. A lot of people are wondering, will you be holding the rallies in blue cities? And if so, I want to pitch my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. We would be honored to have you here.
That's a great idea. We'll think about that in terms of Memphis. We'll be holding rallies all over. We have a lot of rallies scheduled, and we'll be doing them as we get a little bit on, starting probably in about 3 weeks. In the meantime, I just got back from Iowa, just got back from Tennessee, just got back. We have great support in Tennessee, as you know. The senators, both senators, great senators, and just about every congressman endorsed us. So we have great support in Tennessee. I love Tennessee.
And the Todd Starnes Show audience wants you to read the snake poem again. They want that to be a regular.
You're right.
So.
I will do that. People have been asking for that. You're right. There's never been a better time for the snake right now.
That's true.
This is the best time with all the people. I think the number is going to be 15 million people by the end of this year, okay? That's higher than you heard. I think that's what the number is going to be.
And by the way, Mr. President, and now everybody knows after what happened to poor President Biden at the graduation, now people know why you were taking your time going down down that ramp.
I call it going down an ice skating rink. I've never seen it. It was pouring, and it was slick metal, just shiny, no grooves, no nothing. I was amazed I was able to. I was getting ready to run it. I should have just run it or taken off my shoes and run it. But I had the general waiting. I said, General, I may grab onto you because that was the slippery. That was like an ice skating rink. I said, whoever set that up, I think it was a booby trap. It must have been set up by the Democrats.
Mr. President,
but we didn't fall. We don't fall.
We got to leave it there, sir. Always a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you, Todd. I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot, Todd. Great show.
All right. We'll be right back.